Well, hello, sister.
Hello.
Did you like that I didn't
Thanks
call
for
you?
not calling me older.
I swear to God, sometimes we think alike and we talk at the same time, and it's just we complete
Called
each
being
other's
sisters.
sentences. Welcome to Kind of Broken. I usually, when Tammy's out here visiting, which she comes out quite often anymore, but when she's feeling good, I usually make her stay here so I can ask her questions and go down story lane.
Catches me on the fly.
Story time. It's story time. Catch her on the fly. But I wanted to kind of talk to you, Tammers, about Gramma, because one of the episodes that we have, I kind of named it. We named it "Born Evil." She was not a nice lady. She was not a nice Grammy, but did it really have to do with the fact that she was part of the Depression or super poor, or was it just her personality in general? And
it might have been the Depression by the time of this country, but it also was a depression from the type of things they lived through too, because
yeah,
I can't imagine she was ever really a little girl, because that wasn't the way the world worked back then,
right,
during that time. So.
And how old was she again? 18 when she had her first child?
No, she was got to be around 17. I think she was 16 when she started taking off to the fort.
Oh, okay.
So she had to be 17, and I know she was 18 when she went to Yakima and met her future husband, and her daughter was almost 2.
Yeah.
At that time.
So, but I guess I'm curious because we were talking about Yellowstone, right, just now, and being part of the Depression, I'm always curious about the stories people have and what they kind of lived in. And I know that you had mentioned some of our family members lived in like those wagons,
homemade box cars.
Yeah, box cars
with a horse pulling it.
And Grandma was kind of traveled on her wheels were a horse when she was a teenager type thing. Ours, was.
Well, I know they released just in the last couple of years. They started releasing the Great Depression and the Dust Bowl that went on in the Midwest. And the pictures, a lot of the pictures they released shows they're using old automobile carriages at the bottom and the wheels. Instead of like wooden wheels like a wagon, they built the top of the wagon on top of that part of the old Model Ts and Model As and things. And then they hitched it up to horses. So what you see is a car, the lower frame of a car, those old cars with the tires, and then the box that they built out of wood, and then the horses would be pulling that along. That's how they came.
Well, did you ever really hear Grandma sitting around? Because you guys would always sit around, or they would sit around the kitchen table and drink coffee and smoke cigarettes. Did you ever hear her talking? What? Yeah, well, that's all I picture. I have that image of them, and I say them as in Anna Lane, Mom, Grandma. You were there at some point when you were older, but when you weren't older, you tell me stories about how you were probably like sitting under the kitchen table listening. But
well, some of the men in the family were pretty good gossipers too.
Yeah, because what was it, Uncle Willis or Grandma's brother?
Yeah, Great Uncle Pat.
Yeah,
and Great Uncle Ace.
Mm-hmm.
Both of those guys were very gossipy guys. They liked to talk about their past.
But did Grandma ever talk about being super poor or any, like, for example, I've always been curious, like, again, watching Yellowstone, all those shows that are out there, older shows, I'm finding it interesting. As a matter of fact, there's a new movie coming out that talks about the Pacific Northwest, kind of like how they traveled back in the day. And you had mentioned something about, it stuck in my head, how did they protect themselves from periods, or what did they use for, did they have toilet paper? I'm just curious because they had outhouses, right?
Well, places like maybe New York or Chicago might have had some type of paper form for.
No, I'm talking about our family.
No, I'm talking about the population. So I really don't know when toilet paper came out, because big cities had everything before anybody else.
Right.
So they may have had them, but I know that nobody like from the Midwest to the over this coast, had those things. Because I know with grandma, well, even my step grandparents, they still were hanging a phone book in their outhouse, and you would just tear the pages off and use those for your toilet paper. Well, that's what they were using.
Oh my gosh!
Because it wasn't easy.
Wait, but who is printing the phone book? Wait, they're printing phone book, but they're not printing toilet paper, or they just didn't have money to buy the toilet paper?
I don't know exactly when toilet paper came around, or if it was just because they couldn't afford the luxuries of toilet paper. But everybody always got a Sears Roebuck catalog. Mm-hmm. It always came. Somebody would always deliver that. You didn't pay for it because Sears Roebuck wanted you to buy their products. And those and phone books were the two thickest things they had.
Okay, I had to look it up. Modern commercial toilet paper was invented in 1857 by Joseph Gayeti in the U.S.
It's probably pretty expensive too.
And it's sold as flat medicated sheets. While paper hygiene originated in the 6th century in China, Key introduced the first packaged commercial product, alloy-infused manila hemp, to treat rather than just wipe.
I bet you got a lot of rash and burn from that.
But the first rolls were invented in 1871. Oh my gosh. Okay. Now, I guess that's kind of funny because, you think COVID, right? Everybody panicked.
And they could have just used a nice catalog.
Well, now that's why I have a bidet. I seriously, I'm so thankful for that. I don't care if it's cold water. It's not fancy by any means.
Yeah, when I was a kid, but I was all the way up till I was 11 when we went to visit our grandparents in the Midwest, we had to use the outhouse and use the Sears Roebuck catalog.
Oh, that's funny. It's kind of funny.
I mean, I was from a city kid. I was raised in Seattle. And I had to go in that outhouse that had bees humming it out in the big hole.
So you didn't have
a wasp nest up above.
Well, that's kind of interesting to me.
And then I had a thing of paper and no toilet paper anywhere to be seen.
Well, I guess how old were you? Because I don't understand why you didn't have a bathroom.
They put in a bathroom when I was about 10, but we weren't allowed to use it. Because while we were staying there, we had coffee cans under the bed. We had to use those at night. And then we had to carry them in the morning over to the outhouse and dump them. And during the day, we would use the outhouse.
This was in Seattle?
No, it was in Kansas.
Oh, when you went to go. That's what I was saying.
Visiting the grandparents.
Got you. So the grandparents didn't have.
They finally put their bathroom in, I think, when I was around 10. And they let my parents use it,
but not the kids,
because they moved upstairs to the bed the kids used to use, and they had remodeled the main bedroom downstairs, and it had a pot, had a septic tank and a bathroom. So they let them use it. They literally made the bathroom in their bedroom so nobody could use it.
So you had been going to Kansas since you were probably about 4 or 5 years old. So you were using a house?
No, because they weren't married yet then. It was more like when I was like 7 or 8 or something like that.
Okay. So about 3 years or whatever, you're using an outhouse in.
It was an experience. It really was.
Well, yeah, but I mean, I guess.
It smelled bad.
Duh. Jesus.
He had to move it like every 3 years.
Because it was smelled so bad.
Well, no, the poop would peek up into a peak and it was starting to come up out the holes.
Take that off.
So yeah. So anyway, you would actually literally sit on the pile, and that thing's really deep when they start. But by the time it reaches up that part, he basically pulled it over and plowed down the poop.
Okay. Anyway,
I'm teaching you history.
Well, yeah, we don't need to go into details, but I mean, I did ask the question. So I guess I'm curious. Which it's like again, it's interesting because you're 10 years older than me that you experienced something like that, but. Did Grandma ever talk about anything like that? Like,
I never understood. Well, I'm assuming she had the same kind of outhouse thing going on as my grandparents in the future, because they hadn't gone past it by far, because they had a nice farm and everything, but they just didn't have they didn't have enough. I mean, they finally got a septic tank. put in so they could actually have a bathroom because there was no sewage. No, I mean, their electricity, they'd had their own generators to do the electricity out there, and the windmill would
Right.
run. So, yeah, it was still pretty far behind that. So I was assuming Grandma's parents probably had the same, or her dad.
So was Grandma the one
But
telling?
sanitary items,
Yeah.
I was the one that was wanting to know that because I had read a book and it was talking about like tribal times and stuff that women had used moss. They'd pick moss and dry it, and then they would fold it over and stuff and use it for bleeding. And so I asked Grandma because I was curious what she had because I thought she was as old as Methuselah. I was still fairly young when I asked her, and she told me that that back in those days when they bought flour, it came in this it's like linen or canvasy type stuff, and it was usually white for the flour, and she said they would save all those sacks, and they would their mother would pull all the threads out of it and stuff to separate it into two big sheets, and then they would trace out the patterns, and she'd cut it and make them bras and panties out of it.
So is this like a soft
No,
material,
not
or is that
soft.
the woolish? Like are we talking like a potato bag?
The towels I got you that I said you could use for dough and stuff to cover your dough and stuff. Their tea towels. Their tea towels are kind of rougher than normal things,
Right.
but there's no loops on them like a towel.
Okay.
It was similar to that. She said it was not comfortable.
Oh.
And the bra had no support. Basically, it was just shaped to go over your breast.
So why wear one?
Respectability kind of thing.
Hmm.
You couldn't go around with your titties flying around in your dress.
People do it now. Why wouldn't you do it back then? I don't know.
Well, yeah, but in the 1920s, I mean, all the flappers let everything fly, but the kids weren't allowed to.
Well, I would think that if you had a bra back in the 1920s, you were rich.
No, 1920s they didn't wear. That's when they first basically burned the bra. If you watch any old film in the 1920s and 30s, you'll see most of the women don't have bras. Their boobs are hanging way low.
How low did they go?
Pretty low. But they wore them. They wore them because their mother and just society itself let them wear. The underwear pretty much were like a diaper. They were shaped like a diaper. They folded up between your legs, and then she had them stitched on the side, and then you had a drawstring in them. So
that's just crazy. And then you were saying, what was it? They would have to wash them themselves down at the creek, or was it? How was that? Like
they usually pump water there. I know I've seen pictures of them when they were young, and their mom was still alive, and there was a windmill there.
Mm.
So that if they had wind service, then they had probably a pump that they could pump water and get their own water. Because that would be the well, because they usually put the windmill over a well.
And now that you're saying that, I mean, she was one of how many siblings? So there was a lot of kids in the
girls,
house.
I think. Yeah.
And then how many boys? I mean, they're
pretty much the same.
Yeah. So there was like 10, kids.
Boys didn't have nearly the problem.
It's a wonder they didn't have, and not to have money. I mean, that's...
The part I was most curious about is, what do you do when you're having sanitary things you need?
Yeah,
feminine products. And she said they used the same flour sacks, but they were cut into squares, and they would fold them over and over until they were, something you could put between your legs. And your underwear was supposed to hold up the side flaps in the front and the back. Because they didn't have underwear back then yet that you could actually pin your things to them. That's how they did the first.
Kind of sounds like a baby's cloth diaper with plastic. What do you call it? Plastic cover.
And they kept them all in one drawer. The one drawer was all the feminine products. Everybody would use the same ones. If you both
wait, no, they're not using ones that are used.
They're both. If two people had their,
let's clarify something here.
If two people had a period at the same time, they would share whatever was in the drawer. They would each take some and use those. But when they were done, they had to wash their own. They have to wash their own out, get them as clean as possible. No No skipping that. And Grandma said what they did is they, because they unwind them and they cleaned them. She said that they some of the grass that got cut, if they put them on top of the grass that was cut, the chlorophyll acted like a bleach. It kind of it made them just kind of like the stains that would have been blood stains that was light brown. It cleared them up so they were like really pale
just
yellow.
laying it on the grass?
Yeah. And she said it would draw out the stain so that...
It's crazy to me how, if you think about it, how the world works naturally. It can work naturally. It's just we take so many things for granted now that...
Yeah, we have to build everything toxic when it's already there in the natural
world.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
But yeah, they do all that. They fold them all back and neatly have to put them back in the drawer so this next sister or next female part in the family would use them for that.
Did they ever have toothbrushes or, do they make their own soap? I'm just curious on how Grandma...
Making your own soap is really easy. I've even tried it once or twice. But back then, most of their soap was like lye soap and stuff, so your skin got rashes and red. But still, they all shared a bath usually. That's where that phrase "don't throw the baby out with the bathwater." It's because they all shared the tub, and usually the man took his bath first. The woman got in next, and then all the kids, according to age, and the baby would be the last to get.
Oh my God, that is disgusting.
Well, anyway, that's the phrase that says "don't throw the baby out with the bathwater."
Because you wouldn't be able to see the baby because it's so dirty.
No, it's because the baby's last in line, and after that, they throw out the bathwater.
Oh my God!
Water's a big thing. You don't waste it back then. You pumping all the water you could possibly get just to keep your crops growing, the water supplies for your kids, for your washing stuff. So unless you were lucky enough to be next to a stream, you had to be really cautious about how much water you use. So yeah,
especially when you've got like 10 to 13 kids. Seemed like most of our ancestors, all had anywhere between 8 and 13 kids. So there's a lot of mouths to feed.
Yeah, and as far as toothbrushes, the bath, they had back then they had water problems, so you would assume they're all, using it. But as far as things like brushes and toothbrushes and stuff, I actually researched that and looked at what they were possibly using then, and it was like a little wood stick, and they had put boar bristle, where the bristles were boar hair.
Oh.
If you ever seen the boar hair, it's
so they
really
would make
stiff.
Their own? You
could still get boar hair brushes. They have it's kind of in fact, some of your scrub brushes that you use are made with boar hair. Because it's really stiff, it's nice and stiff. And so they made them out of that. Both their hair brushes and their toothbrushes were made out of that stuff.
It's crazy.
Yeah. They didn't have a lot for toothpaste. Most of them used baking soda and powders and stuff like that.
Well, and back then too, because, I was always really amazed on how, hearing stories how Mom and Grandma and them could make, like they were really good bakers and cooked, really, because they could just have flour, salt, sugar, and they could make a whole meal.
Well, that was true of most of the pioneers that came across. That was their basics. They usually had, starting with flour, sugar, and salt.
Yeah.
They'd have a basic meat because they didn't have a lot of stuff. So they'd have like big slabs of pork fat. By the time they were getting to the end of their pork fat, it was already rancid, but they still use it. But you had those were the basic
Wait,
things.
How do they use it if it's rancid? If it's going to kill somebody?
They didn't die as easily as we do.
Yeah. I know. It's like
they never had sterilized meat.
That again, back to the all natural.
Yes, nature took care of it.
It's like, nowadays you can't eat your pizza if it's been out for like 2 days. You don't want to,
Yeah, botulism and salmonella and all that stuff was pretty random because most of them had steel stomachs from the stuff they ate.
That's crazy.
Whiny.
Do you ever remember any stories that Grandma had that were just like really interesting to you that she survived that, or was there anything that just kind of stood out other than the fact that she'd paint her own car with
that's her modern
paint?
That's modern Grandma. The older grandma the younger grandma had a lot different life.
Would you call it rust?
I know her mother died when she was 12 of creeping paralysis. That's what they called it. It's something else. I have it written in the genealogy things, but what they thought it was at that time is creeping paralysis. It's where she lost the use of her feet, and then it would go up her leg. And when it reached her chest, her lungs stopped moving because they got paralyzed. So basically, she died of not being able to have a heart pumping or her lungs.
But, also, can I just say that it's kind of an assumption that that's what she had.
That's what I said. That's what they called it.
Yeah, so you don't even know. It
wasn't diagnosed, but
it could have been the old pork.
No. Modern medicine's already cleared those up. You can actually find creeping paralysis if you search.
Yeah.
And you can find St. Vitus dance and get the actual medical things. They didn't know, but that doesn't mean everybody didn't find out later and put it into the books.
So do you think, or do you know if Grandma had a lot of her Depression era growing up? Did she
I can't imagine there was a fun life.
But did she implement that into Mom and, Annalene and all them? I mean, was she just a penny pincher? Or did she just not have any money?
Grandpa, her husband, our grandfather, he fell off of a train. He worked on the trains.
Horrible.
He fell off of that when he was 19. So by the time she met him when he was 30, he was already on crutches and everything because of his back. So there was no earning income like that. Pretty much they lived off of their gardens and stuff.
Oh, okay.
Because even when he built his house, I told you we went to visit that house. Even when he built his house, he was getting hobos to come from the railroad area to come over, and he would feed them they would help him with the woodworking and the harder stuff. He did all the cutting and different things, but there was stuff he couldn't do.
So he bartered.
Yeah, he bartered food. And Mom said that he fed them like a king for the work they did.
Wow.
More than those kids ever saw, because they had to budget the food and watch out for the food on their own day-to-day life. But when these people came and helped him actually build this house for his family and stuff like that, he actually fed them like kings. There was no chincing on it.
So I'm just curious, what did they live in before his house was built?
I think they were still living together as with the brothers all in one place.
Okay. So
it was after his married, he needed a house.
Yeah.
So he built a house. Chicken coops and everything.
That's amazing.
They had a huge garden. I think I have a picture. I'm pretty sure I have a picture of Grandma bending over in the garden.
Didn't you say that the house is still there, or it was there
it's still there, yeah, because Kimmy got to take a tour through it. Grandma just marched up to the door and said, "Can I please come in here? My husband built this house."
Yeah, I remember. Yeah, you'd think.
She's a brazen huffy.
Maybe that's where my social spurs come in, because I'd talk to anybody and ask the same.
I
would go knock on the door on 25th Street.
I feel really bad that I didn't go, because at that time I was really, really shy, and I thought, "Oh, she's gonna humiliate me."
You were embarrassed of our skanky grandma.
Yes, I shouldn't have been, because I lost the chance to go and see the bedroom where my mom was born.
Oh. Kimmy
got to go see the bedroom, and Grandma gave her...
She doesn't remember it, so...
It might come to her someday. You never know.
Never know.
But Grandma actually gave her all the statistics on each room she took her to, and what her husband did, and put in those windows, and we had to have that. And this is the room where your mother was born.
That's insane. I love that.
Yeah, Kimmy was only 8 or 9. That was we did that on the reunion tour that you didn't go to.
Yeah, because I threw a fit.
Yeah, the reunion one thing.
What was I, 16, 17?
Yeah, you were teenagerhood. Yeah. You didn't care about these old people.
I really I didn't. But I mean, I kind of wish. Now, though, I kind of wish that I did, but I had to, make a statement and throw a fit. I don't even know. Yeah. Why, but.
Well, Kimmy threw a fit when I wanted to take her down to Disneyland.
Yeah, she stayed with me.
She wanted to go visit you and see the baby.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I was I was curious in some ways because, I was pretty young when Graham passed. She passed away in 92? And I was
93.
20, 90, yeah.
93.
And so, yeah, I don't remember a lot of the stories. I do remember going over there. I remember we were talking about how she'd smoke a cigarette and she didn't move for so long that the ash would be as long as the cigarette. And Corey and I would just go over there and just kind of tap her finger and it would fall into the
Yeah,
ashtray.
if I saw her doing that over the hamburger, I loved it when she made hamburger stew. That stuff was excellent. That's one recipe I don't have, and it was the most excellent type of stew.
Hamburger stew or
Hamburger stew. It's a depression food.
Did you ever look it up to see if you could find
I haven't
it?
looked it up. It's on my list of things to do that before all this crap happened.
Oh, okay.
But if she was over there doing that,
Yeah.
I would take a little, the teacup plates. They put those little plates under teacups.
Mm-hmm.
I would go over there and I would go tap underneath of it, and it would fall off.
Yeah. Well, that's what one of the episodes Corey, Corey was talking about how, he'd watch her doing it when she's making food, and all of a sudden we'd look back and the cigarette ash is gone, and I'm like, where did it go?
It probably doesn't hurt you because it's just burnt up tobacco leaves.
Well, what's going to hurt you more, an ash in your stew or the smoke that we inhaled from secondhand because none of you guys stepped outside when, you smoke cigarettes?
It took a while to believe those scientists when they said warning. I mean, they didn't have the warnings on cigarettes.
No.
I remember when that was coming out on those things.
Yeah.
It was warning your Surgeon General advices.
Well, and nowadays, because I like watching those, the cop shows and whatnot, and they will give you a ticket and tell you cannot smoke in the car if you have a child in the car. I mean,
it's understandable.
They can't necessarily tell you that what to do in your own house, but if you're out driving and they see it, they can,
You were actually the reason why the establishment, and I was the one that went around to most of the relatives and chewed them out. You and Zane were the reason when we went up to visit you, you would always set us by the fireplace and we could blow the smoke up the fireplace, which I found totally ridiculous because the downflow would have to burn it right back in. But your heart was in the right place and you ended up quitting smoking for your child. Seriously, that had to be why you did it.
It's
you were
funny that you remember that stuff because until you said that, I didn't remember blowing the smoke up the fire chimney.
It was in your little duplex. So I went around and told everybody you can't smoke indoors anymore.
Yeah.
Because we have small children being born in this family and this has to stop.
Yeah. It's not. And then again, it was gross and it stank. I mean, remember it just oozing off of Grandma's walls,
Yes, but you don't think about that because we were coming from a smoking
But we
culture.
also didn't smell it. It's not,
right,
if we were already so used to it.
Yeah, because when I was on Del Villa, I had those cases of books that Grandma gave me that I really wanted to keep because they were the old time Western books, like all the famous ones, Zane Grey.
Yeah.
All that.
Grandma's face.
And I'd open that up and the woof coming out of those books. I nearly folded. That's why they were not on my shelf. I had my books on bookshelves, but I did not have those books on my bookshelves. And I know they probably would have aired out better. They would have aired out better if...
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, they would have aired out better if I'd have taken them out, but I just couldn't face it.
Yeah. Well...
It was rank.
We're already about 28 minutes in, so let's... end with
and
this.
What did I veer off from?
Well, we veer off always. It's a squirrel process. But what we're going to do is we're going to
I
cover some more
toilet paper.
Yeah.
Peaks in the
But I mean, I was always just curious, really on if they had any stories, because the one story I think we talked about also, and we could not talk about it now, but we'll talk about it next time, is we did cover how we have an uncle that was caught for horse thieving, and we already covered that, and that's in one of the episodes. But I'm always curious there's got to be other stories. Now, there is a story, and I'm going to bring this up, and we're going to talk about it later, so your brain can start thinking about it. Who is the relative that was blind? And it's a possibility that, was it Jesse James or somebody came through town and left a note in his mail?
Okay, this isn't in my thing. You got that from another relative. because I have none of that.
It's a blind relative.
I don't know of any blind relatives in our family.
No, it's an ancestor, and I know you know, and I just got to think of the name. But I will try to get a little more information
That's in somebody
on
else's wheelhouse of information, because you had to have gotten it from somebody.
It's in the stuff. When I started doing the Ancestry.com, 20 plus years ago, I wasn't as in detailed as you are.
For me, if somebody says a story like that, it's kind of like, well, Tammy Stice. Terry Stice always said she was related to Elvis Presley. I leave it all sitting there like, okay, you say you were.
Yeah, but I'm picturing, I know I'm not saying it right, because I'm picturing you telling me. It's
not
like,
me.
Listen,
not me.
Listen, Linda. It's one of those things where he had a store, but he was blind, and so he would literally trust people that would come through. And there was one incident where the gang came through, and I don't know what gang it was, but it was cowboys.
Hole in the wall gangs.
And yeah, and he had done something nice for them. And so they basically left him money in the mailbox and a note. And I was like, that would be cool if we had that note, because it's our family history.
Like I said, though, that's without proof. It's just another
I know. That's
rumor
the
and
thing.
story.
Yeah, exactly.
You know how diligent I am on that.
I know.
There has to be.
Well, it has to be. That's why we always say.
I mean, we became Irish people. We became Native Americans, and we finally became black people. Stop. I'm just saying, the only one that had any credibility was the black people. And I've actually found the plantation and stuff. But all these other people we went through before we got
There's
there.
No clarification. Yeah.
There's no hint of it at all.
Yeah. Well, that's like, I was always saying, these stories might sound ridiculous and crazy to the listeners, but we're not going to say anything that we can't back up.
Right. It was just wishful thinking on certain people that wanted to be Irish or wanted to be Native American.
Yeah.
But didn't want to be black, so that was completely brushed under the rug.
Nothing wrong with it at all whatsoever.
But there's proof
because there's a mixture.
Lots of paperwork, lots of wills.
There's got to be a mixture of that in all families, if you think about how deep and far our ancestors go.
Do you know how many black women,
not just ours, but in general,
be Native American princesses or Egyptian princesses?
Yeah, I don't know.
Because it is a wishful thing. Everybody wants to be a princess.
Yeah. All right, sister. Well, we're going to tap out on this one. Thanks for sitting here and chit-chatting with me, and we'll do this again next week.
Okie doke. Well, it's nice talking to you. Nice talking to your viewers.
All right. Now, you can leave now. You don't have to stay out here. I'm not kidnapping you anymore. I'm just kidding. You can stay out as long as you want.
You're going to release me so I can get some sleep.
Yeah. All right.
Bye, folks.
Thank you.